Welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Inventive Minds. I gotta say, Audiocast Lab India is really knocking it out of the park. They're the ones making this all sound so good.
Yeah, top-notch team for sure.
Last time we talked about some incredible inventions, but this time we're going deeper, like way deeper.
Going for the roots of it all.
Exactly. We're digging into the origins of innovation, the very spark of creativity, that aha moment where it all begins. Where does it come from? What is that mysterious force that leads to those groundbreaking inventions?
It really is a great question because, we often think of creativity as like artistic talent, right? Like painting a masterpiece or writing a hit song.
Right, the classic image of the tortured artist.
But when you really think about it, it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
It's about problem solving, seeing connections that other people just miss. It's about looking at a challenge and saying, hold on, what if we tried this crazy idea?
And it's not just for like geniuses or inventors with fancy labs, right? We all have that creative potential inside us, even if we don't realize it.
Absolutely. Every time you find a clever solution to a problem, even if it's just using a duct tape to fix something, you're using those creative muscles. It's about thinking outside the box.
Totally. Like, that moment when you rig up some crazy contraption to reach something on a high shelf, you're basically channeling your inner MacGyver. So where do these sparks of genius come from? Well, our research points to 3 surprising triggers: curiosity, observation, and get ready for it, frustration.
Yeah, frustration. But let's start with curiosity, that insatiable what-if itch that drives us to explore, to experiment, to push the boundaries of what's possible.
That's like that feeling you get when you see a locked door.
Exactly. You just have to know what's on the other side.
Think about the Wright brothers. They didn't just build a flying machine. They achieved something people had dreamed of for centuries: human flight. That took some serious curiosity, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Talk about aiming high.
Yeah.
And speaking of finding inspiration in unexpected places, there's observation. Sometimes the most brilliant ideas come from just paying attention to the world around us. Nature is like this giant open source lab of amazing innovations just waiting to be discovered.
Nature's a pretty awesome engineer.
For real. Think about Velcro. It was inspired by those annoying little burrs that stick to your clothes after a hike. You know the ones.
Oh, I know those burrs all too well.
What seemed like a nuisance to most people became a game-changing invention. It just shows you how looking closely at everyday things, even annoying ones, can lead to breakthroughs.
Makes you wonder what other brilliant ideas are hiding in plain sight.
Right. Now, let's talk about frustration. I know it might seem a bit counterintuitive, but bear with me. Sometimes it's those things that bug us the most, the problems that really get under our skin, that push us to find those creative solutions.
It's like that saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And sometimes that necessity comes from just being fed up with the way things are.
Exactly. Think about Thomas Edison and the light bulb. He wasn't just messing around in his lab for kicks. He was driven by a desire to solve a real problem: the dangers and limitations of existing lighting methods. He wanted a safer, more efficient way to light up the world. And that frustration fueled his relentless pursuit of a solution.
I never thought about it that way. So we've got curiosity, observation, and frustration, these sparks that ignite the fire of invention. But here's the catch. Coming up with a brilliant idea is only half the battle.
It's like having a fantastic recipe. You still need to actually cook the dish, right?
You got to put in the work.
To turn that spark into something real, something tangible, you need the secret ingredient: perseverance.
It's true. You could have the most mind-blowing idea in the world, but if you give up at the first sign of trouble, poof, it's gone. Just a fleeting thought.
Like a shooting star, gone before you can even wish upon it.
Exactly. Think about those Wright brothers again. They didn't just snap their fingers and poof, airplane. They faced so many setbacks. I mean, they basically crashed their prototypes over and over again.
Talk about trial and error. They must have felt like they were living in a real-life version of that Flappy Bird game.
Good thing they didn't give up.
For real. But they kept going. They believed in their vision, even when everyone else thought they were crazy. And that's something we see time and time again with great innovators. Thomas Edison, for example, he famously made thousands of attempts before perfecting the light bulb.
Thousands. That's like more times than I've tried to parallel park.
He just wouldn't quit. That's the key takeaway here. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a necessary part of the journey. Each misstep, each obstacle. It's all valuable data, you know?
It's like those old school video games where you had to die like 100 times before you finally figured out how to beat the level. Those weren't failures, they were learning experiences.
It's all about leveling up.
Exactly. So we've got the sparks of creativity and the importance of perseverance. But there's another piece to the puzzle: environment. Think about it. Why are some places and periods in history, like ancient Greece, Renaissance Italy, or Silicon Valley, such hotbeds of innovation? What makes them so special? Is it something they're putting in the water?
Maybe. But our research points to three crucial factors: collaboration, resources, and freedom.
Okay, let's break those down. What's the deal with collaboration? How does that play into all of this?
Well, we love that image of the lone genius, toiling away in their workshop. But honestly, breakthroughs often happen when people come together, share ideas, build on each other's work. It's like a jazz band jamming. Everyone brings their own unique talents, and something amazing emerges.
It's the whole Avengers Assemble idea, right?
Yeah.
Individually, they're powerful, but together, they're unstoppable.
Exactly. And then there's resources. Having access to the right tools, materials, and knowledge is crucial. You can't build a spaceship out of popsicle sticks, can you?
I mean, I've tried, but it doesn't really work out.
I bet. And then there's freedom. Freedom to experiment, to take risks, to even fail without fear of judgment. That's essential for a truly innovative culture. You can't be truly creative if you're terrified of making mistakes or stuck following rigid rules all the time.
Yeah, it's like trying to be creative with someone looking over your shoulder the whole time. Not exactly conducive to brainstorming. Oh, before we go any further, let me just remind everyone, we have a curated list of amazing books and biographies on creativity and innovation, for those who want to really nerd out on this stuff. Link is in the episode description. Go ahead and add them to your cart.
Seriously, they're packed with insights. But let's get back to our discussion. We've talked about the sparks, the perseverance, the environment, but there's another element at play sometimes: luck. Those aha moments that seemingly come out of nowhere, like a bolt from the blue.
Oh, yeah. Those eureka moments that make you want to jump out of the bathtub like Archimedes. Speaking of which, do you have any favorite stories about these chance encounters with brilliance?
Well, the Archimedes story is a classic for a reason. It's a perfect example of how even the most ordinary activities can spark a breakthrough. I mean, the guy was taking a bath, but it reminds us that inspiration can strike anytime, anywhere.
It's funny how those aha moments often seem to happen when we're not even trying. It's like when you're struggling to remember something and then it hits you while you're doing something completely unrelated, like washing the dishes or walking the dog.
Totally. It's like our brains need a little break sometimes to make those connections. But the key is to be open to those flashes of insight, even when they come at the most unexpected times.
Keep your eyes peeled for those light bulb moments.
Exactly. Now, here's another great example. Alexander Fleming and the discovery of penicillin. The story goes that Fleming wasn't exactly known for being the tidiest guy.
Okay, I can relate to that. My desk is usually a disaster zone.
Well, Fleming comes back from vacation one day and finds that a petri dish he left out has been contaminated with mold. Now, most people would have just tossed it in the bin and called it a day, right? But Fleming, he noticed something interesting. The mold was actually killing the bacteria around it. And boom, that's how we got penicillin, one of the most important medical discoveries in history.
Wow, talk about a happy accident. A messy lab saves countless lives. It's amazing how sometimes the best discoveries happen when we least expect them.
And here's another one, Post-it notes. Those little sticky squares that are basically an office essential.
Oh, I'm a Post-it note fanatic. I use them for everything.
Well, believe it or not, they were actually the result of a failed attempt to create a super strong adhesive.
Wait, what? You're telling me those little yellow squares of genius came from a flop?
Yep. The original adhesive wasn't strong enough to permanently stick things together, but instead of seeing it as a total failure, someone recognized its potential as a temporary, repositionable adhesive.
And bam, Post-it notes were born. It's like those Pinterest fails that accidentally turn into something amazing.
It just goes to show sometimes the best inventions are the ones we least expect. It's about having that curious, observant mind and being open to the possibilities, even in the face of failure.
So what does all this mean for us, for the everyday folks who aren't exactly Archimedes or Alexander Fleming? What can we learn from these stories of accidental brilliance?
What's really fascinating is that they remind us that creativity isn't some mystical force reserved for a select few. It's in all of us, waiting to be unleashed. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
I like that analogy. So how do we unlock that inner creative genius? Is there a magic potion? A secret handshake?
Haha, I wish it were that easy. But the good news is there are things we can all do to cultivate that creative spark, and that's what we'll be diving into next.
As we've been talking about all these amazing inventors and their creations, I've noticed a pattern, like a common thread that seems to run through all these stories of innovation. Ooh, a pattern. I love patterns. What is it? Is it some secret society of inventors? Do they all have matching tattoos or something?
Ah, I wish it were that exciting. But no, the secret ingredient, the thing that all these innovators seem to share, is a certain mindset. It's that willingness to embrace the unknown, to question everything, to look at the world with fresh eyes.
It's like having that beginner's mind, right? Like you're seeing everything for the first time with that childlike sense of wonder and curiosity.
Yeah.
You're not stuck in your ways. You're open to new possibilities.
Exactly. It's about being receptive to new ideas, to unexpected connections. Remember how we were talking about Post-it notes? That failed adhesive that ended up being a brilliant invention?
Oh, yeah, the ultimate sticky situation turns success story.
That's a perfect example of seeing potential where others might just see a mistake. But the question is, how do we cultivate that kind of mindset? Is it something we're born with, or can we actually learn to be more open to those aha moments?
That's the million-dollar question. Is there a secret formula? Do we need to do brain teasers every morning?
Haha. I wish it were that simple. But the good news is it's a bit of both. Some people are naturally more curious, more open to new experiences. But even if you don't consider yourself the creative type, you can definitely train your brain to be more receptive to those flashes of brilliance.
Okay, so how do we do that? Do we need to, stand on our heads and recite the alphabet backwards?
Huh. If only it were that easy. But no, it starts with making a conscious effort to be more curious about the world around you. Ask questions, challenge assumptions, don't be afraid to experiment. And yes, even fail, because sometimes those failures are just stepping stones to something even better.
It's like that Steve Jobs quote, right? Stay hungry, stay foolish, don't be afraid to look silly, keep asking questions, and never lose that thirst for knowledge.
Exactly. Cultivate that beginner's mind, and you might surprise yourself with what you discover.
So it's about being more observant, more inquisitive, more willing to step outside our comfort zones and explore. Kind of like going on a mental adventure, but without the risk of getting lost in the woods.
Exactly. And while you're on that adventure, don't forget one important thing. Don't be afraid to fail. We talked about this earlier, but it's worth repeating. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process. Every misstep, every obstacle, it's all valuable data. It's like those old school video games where you had to die 100 times before you finally figured out how to beat the level.
Oh man, I remember those days. Spent countless hours getting pummeled by pixelated villains. But you're right, it was all part of the learning process.
Exactly. And in the real world, those failures can sometimes lead to even more amazing discoveries than you initially imagined. It's like taking a wrong turn and stumbling upon a hidden treasure.
So embrace the detours. Who knows what amazing things you might find along the way. But it's not all about going it alone, right? There's power in collaboration too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Surround yourself with people who challenge you, inspire you, and bring different perspectives to the table.
It's like having a brainstorming buddy, someone to bounce ideas off of to help you see things from a new angle.
Exactly. Two heads are often better than one, and when you share ideas and work together, you create this amazing synergy that can lead to breakthroughs you might never have achieved on your own. It's like that old saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
So we've got curiosity, observation, a willingness to experiment and embrace those glorious failures, and the power of collaboration. Anything else we can add to our creativity toolkit? Any secret weapons we should be aware of?
Here's one that often gets overlooked. Sometimes we get so caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, the constant stream of information, that we forget to give ourselves space to just think.
You mean like put down the phone, close the laptop, and just is that even allowed in today's world?
It should be mandatory. Go for a walk in nature. Listen to music. Meditate. Do whatever helps you disconnect from all the noise and reconnect with your inner world. It's like hitting the reset button on your brain.
It's like that feeling you get when you're trying to remember something and you're racking your brain, and then you finally give up, and then bam, it hits you while you're in the shower or something. Like your brain needed that little break to make the connection.
Exactly. Sometimes the best ideas come to us when we least expect them. It's like they were hiding in the back of our minds, just waiting for the right moment to emerge.
So give yourself permission to daydream, to let your mind wander, to embrace those moments of quiet contemplation. It's like giving your inner creative genius a chance to stretch its legs and explore.
Exactly. Remember, creativity isn't a destination, it's a journey. It's about constantly exploring, experimenting, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And if you're looking for some inspiration along the way, don't forget about that curated list of books we mentioned earlier. They're full of fascinating insights into the creative process. You can find the link to purchase them in the episode description.
They're definitely worth checking out.
But hold on tight, folks, because we're about to take another exciting turn in our exploration of creativity. We've talked about the sparks, the perseverance, the importance of environment, and those serendipitous aha moments. But now we're going to dive into a whole new dimension of inventive thinking.
It's a perspective that challenges our assumptions about where innovation comes from and reminds us that sometimes the most groundbreaking discoveries happen in the most unexpected ways.
Ooh, you're killing me with the suspense. What is this mysterious new dimension we're about to explore?
Let's just say it involves a healthy dose of chance, a sprinkle of serendipity, and a willingness to embrace the unexpected.
Sounds intriguing. I can't wait to dive in. But first, a quick word from our sponsors.
And we're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating world of creativity.
You know, it's really mind-blowing when you think about the sheer ingenuity behind those groundbreaking inventions we've been discussing.
It's truly remarkable how those sparks of creativity have shaped the world we live in.
Right. From the airplane taking flight to the light bulb illuminating our homes to penicillin revolutionizing medicine, it's amazing to think that it all started with a simple idea, a moment of inspiration.
It speaks volumes about human potential, our ability to look at a problem or an opportunity and see something no one else has seen before and turn it into something that changes the world.
It's like they say, the only limit is your imagination. And clearly, some people have imaginations that are just, well, limitless. But it also makes you realize that there's still so much potential out there waiting for someone with a curious mind and a bit of courage to tap into it.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe that someone is listening to this right now, a future inventor, a game changer, a world shaker, just waiting to make their mark.
So as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Okay, I like this. A challenge. Lay it on me.
What spark of creativity are you carrying within you? What problem are you itching to solve? What dream are you chasing? Don't let those ideas just sit there.
Absolutely. Embrace that curiosity, nurture that creative spirit, and don't be afraid to share your ideas with the world. You never know what amazing things might happen.
And remember, if you're ready to share your story, to bring your ideas to life, AudioCast Lab India is the dream team to make it happen.
They really are the best at what they do. They'll guide you every step of the way, from concept to production, making sure your podcast is everything you envisioned, and more.
So if you're ready to share your voice, your passion, your unique perspective with the world, reach out to AudioCast Lab India. You can find their contact info in the episode description.
Definitely check them out. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to Inventive Minds so you don't miss our next episode.
Oh, yes. Our next episode is going to be a wild one. We're diving into the world of accidental genius, inventions born by chance. We'll be exploring all those serendipitous moments that led to some of the most unexpected breakthroughs in history. It's going to be a fun one.
I can't wait. Until then, keep those creative sparks flying, and remember,
the world is waiting for your unique contribution.
That's all for this episode of Inventive Minds. Thanks for joining us, and keep on innovating.